Hey everyone, so today we're gonna see how you match two horoscopes in Vedic astrology. Because in Indian culture, when a boy and a girl decide, to get married, when they agree, not the forceful arranged marriage, but a marriage where the boy, meets the girl for 4 or 5 times, say, okay, let's move further. And then what they do, they take their horoscopes, their birth horoscope to astrologer to see are they compatible in the marriage. And this is a very important reason why. And this is one of the reasons why the rest of the world has the highest divorce rate. US is 50%. And if you take the same group that scored 50% and you look at it 15 years after, the same group will probably be 65%. Who knows? But it's really it's a safe thing to do. Because usually when you match the horoscope in the right form, those marriages last long, okay? But I'm gonna clear you of a big misconception. Let's say if you know what I'm talking about, matching your horoscopes, or if you're new, that's fine too, and you want to take your boyfriend and girlfriend's horoscope to astrologer to see how good you guys are doing. When an astrologer puts in your information in his software and looks at it and say, oh, you guys scored a 26 out of a 35, which is good. Anything above 18, score of 18 is good. He's be like, yes, you guys are good to go. You should not stay there any further. Okay, if he just looks at the score and tells you the score, don't stay there any further. If he says your score is 12 or 13 or 15 or 17 and no, I'm not going to recommend this marriage, walk out of there. Because the score that they give you is 10% of the entire game. Okay, the reason, pretty much what the score is telling you is how you're mentally connecting, and if you're going to be able to have kids or not, how good you guys will be in your physical relationship. Because in Vedic astrology, you can actually tell how big a guy is going to be, how big or small he is. You can tell that. Maybe one day I'll do a video on it. You guys would love that, huh? Expose all of you. But that's what they look at, okay? And that is wrong, because a horoscope needs to be analyzed where planets are placed, in what condition. That will give you a true definition of an astrological compatibility. So never go on just a score. You're going to be misled the rest of your life. So I made a video earlier about this, and the reason why I'm giving this presentation is because there was no audio in the beginning of that video. So watch the rest of the video where I tell you some of the things that you need to look at when judging a horoscope, okay? And if those horoscopes do not match, even after what I tell you, there's the biggest remedy of all, which you should watch in my video section, which is called the best Vedic astrology remedy, which is all about that supreme power. So you can beat any alignment, even if it doesn't match after I tell you, all right? So here we go. So the first important thing that you want to take a note of is that if you and your spouse have the same ascendant, meaning same rising sign, that is kind of not a good thing, because you both have a same life pattern, meaning all the ups and downs that are shown through your ascendant sign, you will experience similar pattern, even though you might go through a different planetary time period, which doesn't make sense to you. It's okay. Trust me, it'll all make sense. So if you and your spouse have, let's say, 2 Sagittarius risings, that's not a good sign, because then you both are going through, like I said, similar life journey at a different point, maybe just a little bit off. So if your husband goes through a bad time, the wife is not far away, even though planetary time period might be totally different, yet affects that. Okay, so that's one. It's always better to have a different ascendant sign from for you and your spouse. But make sure that ascendant is compatible with your planet. So let's say if you're Sagittarius ascendant, that means Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. You should make sure that your spouse has an ascendant of Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter, but it's not Sagittarius, still ruled by Jupiter, so it's good. If it's Scorpio, ruled by Mars. If it's Aries, ruled by Mars. If it's Cancer, ruled by Moon. Or if it's Sun, ruled by Leo. Because these planets are friendly to Jupiter. But if Sagittarius ascendant has Libra ascendant, Taurus ascendant, Capricorn, Aquarius, Gemini, Virgo ascendant, then it's friction because Jupiter is not compatible with these planets. He's kind of gets into little battles with these planets. Okay, so if you have a Libra ascendant, you should make sure that your spouse has a Capricorn, Aquarius, Virgo, Taurus, or Gemini ascendant, because Venus, which rules Libra, is friends with Saturn and Mercury. And if all of this is still not making sense to you, it'll make sense if you just stick around. And if you even get my book and my astrology book, which I'll tell you later where to go for it, it all makes sense from A through Z, and it becomes fun because then you realize, yes, So make sure the ascendant is different, and ascendant is friendly with your spouse's ascendant. Okay. Then second, you want to make sure that your Mars is not in a certain pattern than your spouse's Mars. So there's something called Mangli, Dosha, which I'll show you where to go and look at it. In Vedic Astrology, when your Mars is in the 12th, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 7th, and 8th house, you are known as Mangli. And you should marry somebody who has a similar pattern. So if your spouse has everything right, and she has Mars in the 12th house, 1st house, 2nd house, 4th house, 7th house, 8th house, then it's a compatibility. Because Mars in these houses is very passionate and energetic. It becomes very much, just all about physical and deep-rooted passion. Where Mars in the other sign is kind of doesn't have the same energy level as these people, so that matters. Okay, so you should look for that. Third, and then the most important, is how far is a man's moon in his birth chart from his wife's chart. What do I mean by that? So let's say if your moon during your birth, in your birth horoscope, is sitting in the 1st house, and your wife's in your wife or your husband's horoscope, the moon is sitting, well, actually no, let me take that back. We're only judging from man to a woman, and I'll tell you why later on. So if a man has moon in the 1st house and wife has her moon in the 10th house, that means your moon has to travel 10 houses to get to your wife's moon. And what is moon? Your mind, your ability to communicate with other people emotionally. And so the further your wife's moon is away from you, the longer it'll take you to relate to your wife, the longer it'll take you to relate to your wife's needs, her mind needs. So if you look at it in this horoscope that I'm showing you on the screen, this person has their moon in ascendant, okay, and this is a man's chart. And wife's moon is in the 10th house. And look how many places it's away from the wife's moon if you count counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All the way to 10 places. That means the further your moons, your emotions are going to take to relate to your wife. So if your wife is feeling sad one day and her moon is in the 10th place from yourself, you're not going to realize it for a long, long time that, something's wrong with my wife. Let me ask her what's wrong. But let's take a look at this chart. If your moon is in the 1st house and your wife's moon is in the 4th house, now what will happen is it'll take you quicker to realize that, wow, something's wrong with my wife. Let me go support her. Let me give her a crying shoulder. Let me see what's going on. Let me take her to dinner. Let me just ask her, what is wrong with you? You're not feeling good today. Because of the fact your moon energy and her moon energy are close now. It's traveling less. So you see how important that becomes? And usually the maximum you want to have is just 5 to 7. Like after 5 places, it kind of then takes a little longer to relate to the other person. And your wife should not have her moon close to you. So your wife should not be in the 1st house. Your wife's moon should not be in the 1st house, and yours should be in the 4th house, because then you as a man still traveling to all the way to 12 places, okay, actually 11 places to reach to your wife. Okay, so this becomes a problem because women should not relate to you, to your needs. You shouldn't become your mother in a relationship. You should be there as a man. You should be there as a husband to say, hey, what's wrong with you? And yes, after that, the woman will also nurture you because she already knows it's in her DNA to nurture you. So this is one more important thing, that a man's moon should be close to the wife's moon, counting counterclockwise. Second is a Venus. Your Venus should be closest to the woman's Venus. Your Venus, which represents love and relationship and relating to other peoples through love and sensuality, should be close to your wife's. So you can easily go and relate to her. You can easily give love to her that Venus wants to give. And the further away your Venus is from your wife's Venus in your horoscope, the longer it's going to take for you to give that nourishment, that love, that feeling of romance to your wife. So this is an important part. These 4 factors that I told you are an important part. Once you look at this chart, okay, that's when you look at the score. What's the score? If the score is 12 or 14, and yet you have ability to relate to your wife in every way possible, and your Mars is good, your Ascendant is good, forget the score, you will be good. Because of the fact, the reason why marriages fail is because wife is not able to relate to the husband is not relating to the wife, they're not sexually compatible, that one has passion, one doesn't have passion, and that's what happens. That's why marriages break up. If people think it's money, if you have the true love, those marriages go through ups and downs and they stick together. This is why they say, through good or the bad, I will be with you. And those are the wives and husbands that through the bad stick with them, because they just know they will not be able to find this kind of connection with another person. And there's a lot more things that to look at in a horoscope is to see if everything's working, how the person's 7th house is looking. If your husband and wife, have a age difference and their chart shows that they have a delay of marriage and you don't, that's going to create a problem, because if they get married early, they're going to end up getting a divorce. Let's say if their Saturn is in the 7th house, or if they have Rahu in the 7th house, you want to look at all these things, and all of this will make sense. If you're new, don't worry, it'll become fun and all makes sense, okay? But this was just a basic analysis of exactly what you look for. So if you, as a person who has interest in Vedic astrology or matching horoscopes, and then you go to astrologer, and if astrologer just gives you a score and say it's a good match, you guys scored 15, you guys scored 24 out of 35, good to go, good to marry. You want to run as far away from that astrologer as possible. But if astrologer looks at the chart more than the score, that's the one you want to stick to. And you want to ask them, what are you looking for? Exactly what is it that you're looking for? And how do you ask these questions? Well, for that, check out my link below where my website is. And in my book, Astrology at the Speed of Light, it'll teach you astrology at the speed of light. You'll just know what's happening. And the chart that I showed you is the easiest chart in the world for astrological patterns to look for, okay? So this was my basic analysis, guys. If you're new, you just learned something very, very valuable, subscribe above, because that's what you do. And if you, again, check out the link below for more astrological information, the true astrological information. Otherwise, I'm going to see you with another video soon. Bye-bye.